So good evening. Once again, welcome to the question paper analysis of UGC NET English December 2021, Shift 1. And this class is presented by Professor Academy, Chennai. And today we are going to discuss questions from 21 to 25. And for a change, today let's start with a short lecture on a topic. Then we'll go to question number 21, so that you can you can feel how a lecture can change the way you answer a question. So let's go to the topic. So we'll begin with this philosophy called existential philosophy or existentialism. So what is existentialism? Simply means the absurd nature of human life. So this philosophy insists on the futile nature of human life. So we exist, that's enough. So we need not look for meaning. So if we look for meaning for the human existence and there is nothing, so basically our existence is essential, is meaningless and futile. The word absurd here refers to futile, right? Waste of time. Then whatever we do, I mean, our human endeavors, our efforts, they end up in creating anxiety and anguish. And the best example to understand this philosophy would be understanding the myth of Sisyphus. The Greek character, we have this myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus was punished, to roll the boulder, a kind of a rock, to the top of the mountain. And once he reaches the top, again this roll of the boulder, it comes down. Again he has to come back and take it back again, and this is endless. So this is his punishment, and this is existentialism. The crux of existentialism, the philosophy, right? So there is no end. It's like our living our life again and again, day after day, in the same way. There is no meaning to it. So this is the philosophy, and from this we have certain literature coming from this. And one of the famous philosophers, the French philosopher Albert Camus, Camus, and his noteworthy book, The Myth of Sisyphus. And the opening lines, or in the opening pages of this book, this is how he defines this philosophy. A man who has become conscious of the absurd is forever bound to it. So if you're very much aware, okay, this is my life, and you're aware of the absurdity attached to it, then you can't live your life, right? So you are bound to that. A man devoid of hope and conscious of being so has ceased to belong to the future. So we always belong to the past. We don't live the present, and we don't belong to the future. So we are stuck in time like Sisyphus. So this is the essence of this philosophy. Then another famous philosopher, we have French author Jean-Paul Sartre, Sartre. And he, in his book, Existentialism and Humanism. So in this book, he gave this famous statement, which sums up, the entire thing of this philosophy, existential philosophy. So this is a statement: existence precedes essence. So what matters a lot in this life is that we are alive, we exist. So that matters a lot. Then, the essence or the meaning we search for this life. So instead of meaning that we are alive, that is more important. Existence precedes essence. And one of his plays, existential play, No Exit, published in 1948. So in this work, there are three characters who are stuck in hell. The setting is hell. They try to find a way out of it, but ultimately they find that there is no exit. They are stuck there forever. And one of the characters makes this statement: hell is other people. In the sense, they are in hell and they are not bothered about it. They come to terms with that situation, that kind of a monotonous situation. And they think only the company of other people is actually hell, because they create a lot of problem. At least we are alone and we are happy, or we think we can go on like this. But the company, if you want to live in the company of amidst people, that is actually hell. So that is the statement: hell is other people. So this could be a possible question. So when they ask question from existential philosophy or existential literature, they might ask in which play or in which work you find this statement, hell is other people. So, and the answer is, of course, Jean-Paul Sartre's play, No Exit. Then we have another celebrated philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. And Nietzsche, in his book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Zarathustra. So in this book, he declared this: God is dead. God died of his pity for humanity. Why God died? Because God couldn't see this mankind suffering or humankind suffering from their own doing. So he died of his pity for mankind. So when it comes to existential philosophy, there is a denial of the presence of God. So it's a guide of a godless university. When you read existential literature, in that universe or in that world, there is no God, right? So this is another idea attached to this philosophy. Then from this, we have this theater of the absurd. So in order to understand theater of the absurd, we need an understanding of existential philosophy. So these are the prominent playwrights under this group, and the term theater of the absurd was coined by Martin Esslin, Esslin. And Martin Esslin grouped certain writers and he studied their plays, and he thought there are commonalities between them. So he came up with this term and he grouped everything together, and we have this kind of a movement, theater of the absurd. So we have Eugene Ionesco's The Chairs. Then this is the masterpiece when it comes to whenever we read theater of the absurd, a significant work, Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. Then we have Arthur Adamov's Ping Pong. Then Jean Genet, Genet, The Balcony. Then Harold Pinter, The Caretaker. Edward Albee's The Zoo Story. So if you are going to prepare for a NET exam, and you can expect a question from this section, existential philosophy and theater of the absurd. So when it comes to questions from modern age or modern theater, so you can expect one from this field. So what you can do, so you can read at least the essence or the gist of all these plays: The Chairs, Waiting for Godot, Ping Pong, The Balcony, The Caretaker, The Zoo Story, or the other plays by the same authors, right? So then let's discuss one of the essential features of theater of the absurd. All these plays, or most of these plays, they have cyclical plots. What is the cyclical plot? It comes to the same position again. It's a kind of walking in a circle. So it trots and again it comes back to that same point. And the best example would be Waiting for Godot. So we have two characters here, Vladimir and Estragon, or in other words, Vladimir is called Didi and Estragon Gogo. So we have Vladimir DI, right? Didi. So we have Estragon GO, so Gogo. Yes. So we have Vladimir and Estragon. Then look at Act 1. So you have Act 1 and Act 2. Right? So in both Act 1 and Act 2, we have the same action again and again, coming again and again. So for instance, we have Vladimir and Estragon waiting for someone called Godot. But irony, they have never met Godot. They don't know where Godot lives. They don't know whether Godot will come and meet him. But suddenly we have two characters, and Lucky and Pozo. Then we have a boy coming at the end of Act 1 saying that Godot will not come today. You can meet tomorrow. Same thing happens, but with a few difference. In the transition, we have a tree in the background, which sprouts some leaves. That's all. Then look at here. The ending is almost the same. Act 1, the ending of Act 1, as well as the ending of Act 2. Vladimir says to Estragon, well, shall we go? Estragon, yes, let's go. And you have the stage direction or description. They do not move. They stand still. Act 2, same. Vladimir says, well, shall we go? Estragon. Yes, let's go. And they do not move. So they are stuck in time and they drift in time. They do not go anywhere. Who knows if there is a third act, again, it will be repeated. Even if it is a 5-act play, I think all the acts will have the same thing. So this is a kind of a cyclical plot, which is an essential feature in theater of the absurd. So with this understanding or brief introduction to existential philosophy and theater of the absurd, let's go to today's question. And before that, when we discuss, the structure of theater of the absurd, they do not follow the conventional structure because they do not have, all the plays do not have 5 acts, just 2 acts. So when we say a conventional theater, generally Elizabethan theater, the plays have 5 acts, and this is the structure of the play, right? Dramatic structure, and it's called Freytag's pyramid, Freytag, Freytag's pyramid. And Freytag, the name of the critic, Gustav Freytag, and he put forward this theory in his book, The Technique of the Drama. And this is a structure of a 5-act play. So we have Act 1, exposition. So any play opens with an introduction to the characters and also the situation. Then there's a kind of an inciting incident. Something happens that triggers the action. It goes, rising action. Then there are a lot of complication in the plot. Then it reaches climax. Climax here is it's not the end. Climax refers to the tension. Now the dramatic tension reaches the height. That is the summit. So that is the climax. From there is a kind of reversal of the action. Then it falls down, and finally kind of a resolution. Everything comes to an end. So it's also called denouement in French. So it's a kind of unraveling the plot. All the knots in the plot are unraveled. But we do not get this structure in theater of the absurd. Sometimes there is no ending at all, or there is open ending. Sometimes there are a lot of endings, multiple endings. So this is a conventional one, and theater of the absurd goes beyond this. And with this, let's go to question number 21. Which of the following are features of theater of the absurd? Right? So we have 5 statements. Let's read, and you can also eliminate so that you can easily identify the answer. A, capital A, emphasis on the central role of God in the universe. B, presentation of futile actions devoid of any goal. C, portrayal of situations that point to the meaningfulness of life. D, lacking in conflicts and dramatic tensions. E, presenting players in a stasis or drift without definite roles. So what you have to do, so we have 5 statements. We have to know, we have to identify the features of the theater of the absurd. Some features, especially two features, do not belong here. So we have to find out. So let's look at option A, which says A, B, and D only. So even before going to the option, you can easily eliminate. See, you can eliminate, what's the first point? Emphasis on the central role of God. So it's a godless society or godless universe. So that's how theater of the absurd function. So why don't you remove A? So wherever we have A, we can remove the options. In option A, we have A, B, and D only. So we can remove that. Then we go for option B. Again, we have A, C, and E. Since we have A, we remove that. So we are left with 2, right? Then if you know, theater of the absurd focuses on the meaninglessness of life, not meaningfulness of life. So we can, remove that, C. So where do we find C? In option C, we have B, C, and D. So we can remove that. So just through elimination, we have found out the answer. So answer is D. B, D, and E. B, presentation of futile actions devoid of any goal. D, lacking in conflicts and dramatic tensions. E, presenting players in a stasis or drift without definite roles. So once you have some understanding of a particular topic, you can eliminate and you can easily arrive at the answer. So this is how you can develop an instinct for competitive exams. Sometimes we may not be aware of the question or where it is taken from, but use your instinct and go for the answer. Now, let's go to question number 22. Given below are two statements. Statement 1. In Waiting for Godot, it is Vladimir who questions the boy who comes from Godot towards the end of 2 acts. Statement 2. In Waiting for Godot, it is Estragon who says, nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes, it's awful. So we have 2 statements, and let's go for the options. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are false. B. Both statement 1, statement 2 are true. C. Statement 1 is false, but statement 2 is true. D. Statement 1 is true, but statement 2 is false. It's a bit tough. We know the story, but it's tough to remember because we have only 2 major characters. Of course, there are other characters coming in, the boy or the invisible character Godot, or we have Lucky Pozo and others, but we can't distinguish who said who, what, because there are only 2 characters, Vladimir or Estragon. So it's a confusing one, though we know the story and everything. So what happens, let's go to the answer, but what we have to do next, maybe what we can expect in the next exam. So answer is actually B. Both statement 1 and 2 are actually true, right? So at the end of Act 1 and Act 2, it is actually Vladimir who questions the boy. Where is Godot? What is he doing? Will he be coming? And Estragon is the one who made this statement. And this is a often quoted statement from this play, Waiting for Godot. Nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes, it's awful. Kind of a loneliness there. And how to tackle these kinds of questions? What you have to do, whenever you read a play or novel, read the end. Read the ending. Always be aware of the ending, what's happening at the end, right? First, get to know the story. Then at least spend some time reading the ending, because most of the time they ask questions from the ending. So for instance, let's go for the next one. It's actually from the ending. So before we go to the next question, let's read the passage given here. A passage from Thomas Hardy's novel, Tess of the Tubervilles. Let's read. Justice was done, and the president of the immortals, in Aeschylean phrase, has ended his sport with Tess. So first statement. So what do you understand? So as if there was a crime, so justice was done, and we have a personified thing here, the president of the immortals, kind of a god, in Aeschylean phrase. So who is Aeschylus? Greek tragedian known for along with Sophocles and Euripides. So something kind of a tragic note is there. So you can sense that. Had ended his sport with Tess. So Tess, the main character or the protagonist of this book, is done for. So something is done to Tess. And the Duberville knights and dames slept on in their tombs unknowing. So there's also a mention of tomb, right? A graveyard. So something to do with the death kind of is going on. Then there are 2 people mentioned here, the 2 speechless gazers. So who is a gazer? Someone hiding and looking at someone, or someone who is watching. Bend themselves down to the earth as if in prayer. So 2 people are praying for, maybe for Tess, we don't know, and remained thus a long time, absolutely motionless. Then they saw something. The flag continued to wave silently. So what is that flag, to with this situation? Or where is this flag? As soon as they had enough strength, they rose, joined hands again, and went on. So joining hands is a kind of a bond, right? So we have 2 people who witnessed something and they are leaving. So this is the ending, but we don't know. So, but one more thing, if you know the ending of Tess, the following 2 questions are so easy. You need not bother about this passage or reading this again and again. If you know it, you can directly go to that. So what I'm saying, whenever you read, especially Victorian novels and modern novels, read the ending, again and again. So this is the question number 23. How did the sport with Tess end? So what happened? A, she was hanged. B, she died an untimely death. C, she was expelled from Winton-Chester. D, the tormentor married her. So if you read that passage again and again, we noted something tragic happened. She was expelled from Winton-Chester. Doesn't mean it is tragic. Or the tormentor married her. We don't know. So if you notice, so these two sound different. The earlier one, option A and B, has something to do with death. So at least now on the spot, you can read it again and again. You can come to a conclusion, a kind of a develop an instinct for that. And it has something to do with death, a kind of a tragic note. It is either A or B. But if you know the story, it's very simple, right? Answer is actually A. She was hanged. Tess was hanged to death because she stabbed to death, stabbed the villain or her tormentor, Alec, to death. So this story, we have three major characters. We have Tess, who falls in love with the angel Claire, but couldn't live with him because of certain situation. And she was a tormentor or forced to someone's mistress. We have Alec. So Alec, a villain, then a kind of romantic interest. We have Angel. Then we have Tess. So she murdered, and for that murder, she was hanged to death. And the flag mentioned there refers to, you have this Winton-Chester or Chester. It refers to a prison. So those days, if someone was going to be executed, we have this flag, kind of a black one, to indicate that someone was going to be executed. So that was the flag mentioned in the passage. Now with this, let's go to the next question. 24. Who are the two speechless gazers? I think this is the simplest one. Even by what we have discussed now, you can easily eliminate. Who could be that? A, Lisa Lou and Angel Clare. B, Parson Trenham and Mrs. D'Urberville. C, Reverend James Clare and Mrs. Brooks. D, Tess's two parents. And simple, who could be that? If you know the story, answer A, Lisa Lou and Angel Clare. So Angel Clare and Lisa Lou. Who is Lisa Lou in the novel? Younger sister of Tess. So it is implied that they are going to start a new life. So Angel Clare finally comes to understand that Tess is actually a good one, that he punished her. Prejudice, he had a lot of prejudice, and he misunderstood her, and he punished her. And at the end of her death, Angel Clare is going to live with Lisa Lou, right? Then we go to the final question. Erich Auerbach's Mimesis 1946 ends with a chapter on option A, George Eliot's Middlemarch. B, James Joyce Ulysses. C, Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. D, Wyndham Lewis' The Apes of God. So we have a book, critical work, which is a well-known one, Erich Auerbach's Mimesis. And the question is, what is the last chapter? Name of the last chapter. As I told you before, all the questions we have discussed, most of the questions we discussed today, has something to do with the ending or the last chapter. So what you have to do next time when you prepare, focus on the ending of novels, plays, or if it's a critical book, just go through the contents page. So let's find out the answer, then discuss. C, Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. So this book, Erich Auerbach, Mimesis, ends with a chapter on Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. So what we can do now is that, why don't you check out? So take this as an exercise and do. First, number one, you go to Erich Auerbach and find the contents page. And this could be a question. What is the subtitle of this book? The representation of reality in Western literature. So after Plato, we have who came up with this term mimesis or imitation. Then we have Aristotle. Then one who studied mimesis in Western literature in depth is this guy, Erich Auerbach. So why don't you see the contents page and look at that? Because the question is not so deep. They just saw the contents page and they asked the question. So this is an exercise for you. You can do that. So we have Chinua Achebe's essay collection, Hopes and Impediments. You just take a note and say, okay, these are the essays in this book. Sometimes you can get a direct question. This essay was written by, or Hopes and Impediments is an essay collection by. Could be an easy question. Then go for this book, the Canadian author Margaret Atwood's Survival. Then you can go for this Indian critic A.J.S. Ahmed in Theory. Then we have again Indian novelist Amitav Ghosh, The Imam and the Indian. This is a very famous collection, a prose piece, often prescribed. So you should go through the contents of this book. Then we have Salman Rushdie's Imaginary Homelands, something with a kind of a post-colonialism. Then we have this Italian novelist Umberto Eco, Misreadings. Then we have the Palestinian and American critic. We have Edward Said's Culture and Imperialism. Then we have this modernist writer belonging to this Bloomsbury group. We have Lytton Strachey's Eminent Victorians. Then we have Virginia Woolf's The Common Reader, Series 1 and Series 2. We have 2 series here. So what you can do now, just go through the contents page, or sometimes the chapter or the last chapter or first chapter. So this time they asked from last chapters or the ending. Sometimes they ask the the beginning. So focus on both the beginning and the ending, and just flip through the pages of these books or scroll through the pages of these books and find out, maybe is there any interesting essay by Salman Rushdie in this collection, or The Imam and the Indian by Amitav Ghosh. Okay, so do this exercise. I hope you will improve on and on. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow with another 5 questions and their analysis. See you soon, and all the best for your preparation.